Hello, Professor. You seem to be in good health. Of course. Doesn't seem intimidated. No, not at all. It's just that I find myself a little concerned for your well-being. You see, Lady Edelgard has taken something of an interest in you. Don't be flippant. There is something you need to understand about the role I play here. One of my many duties is to determine potential advantages and potential threats to Her Highness. If you prove yourself useful to Lady Edelgard, then all will be well. If you pose a threat, I shall have to dispose of you. Yes, this is no joke. While I may be a student here, I am her servant first and foremost. Therefore, if an untimely demise is not to your liking, you would do well to demonstrate your utility with all haste. I should warn you that I am far less compromising than Lady Edelgard. Do not be at ease merely because you stand in her good graces for the time being. Ah, such confidence. I'm beginning to see why you caught her eye. My family, House Vestra, has been sworn to House Resvelg for generations. Since the dawn of the Empire, we have worked to protect the Emperor by any means necessary, both in the open and in the shadows. If you incur our wrath, you will see just what I mean. It seems I am discovered. I suppose that means assassination is out of the question, at least for now. Merely keeping an eye on you for the moment. Nothing to be concerned over. Unusually watchful, difficult to steal upon in slumber. Perhaps an odorless, tasteless poison. Lady Edelgard certainly took interest in a difficult one this time. I suppose that question does warrant a response, considering it may mean your life. The answer requires me to explain some of the complex internal politics of the Empire. Are you familiar with Volkard von Arundel? He is Lady Edelgard's uncle. You may also know him as Lord Arundel, the Empire's regent. Many years ago, he took Her Majesty and fled to the Kingdom of Fargus. Then after a time, he returned to seize power. Joining forces with Prime Minister Eyre and my father, Lord Arundel rendered Emperor Ionius IX politically impotent. Lady Edelgard is Ionius IX's daughter. I cannot begin to fathom the depth of her sadness at his betrayal. I see something of Lord Arundel in you. When I look at you, I feel I can almost see a second self lurking beneath the surface. It is as if you are in constant dialogue with something inside your heart. Something with desires very different from your own. Does that description feel familiar to you at all? Because to me, you seem unpredictable. As though you could turn traitor at any moment. The more I learn about you, the less I like. I had thought you might be of use to Lady Edelgard, but now I am beginning to think you may, through no fault of your own, present too great a risk. I hope you will prove me wrong, Professor. I would hate for this to come to bloodshed. Nice place, isn't it, Professor? Standing here, you can almost feel the goddess's absence. Discounting what dwells within you, of course. Do you think some punishment would rain down from the sky if this monastery were to be destroyed? Of course not. Even if the so-called Immaculate One came back here for revenge, that would only be a result of this war, not the work of a deity. If it is between love and hate, then I would choose the latter. The goddess failed to properly govern this world. That is why it is necessary for Lady Edelgard to become the supreme leader of Fodlan. Those with power must use it wisely. Is that not a teaching of the Church of Seros? It's absurd to preach to others what you cannot practice yourself. That is logical, but I am afraid your logic is informed by your humanity. That is not the case for inhuman creatures with lifespans well beyond our own. We must fight to preserve what makes us human. You are the one closest to the enemy. I wonder if you will be able to maintain your humanity to the end. You make it sound easy. I find myself trusting you, even with my life. I've already dedicated my life to Lady Edelgard. To throw my lot in with you is inconceivable. But if I had 2 lives to give, I might devote one of them to you. Not as master and servant, but as equal partners. Hello, Professor. You seem to be in good health. Of course. Doesn't seem intimidated. No, not at all. It's just that I find myself a little concerned for your well-being. You see, Lady Edelgard has taken something of an interest in you. Don't be flippant. There is something you need to understand about the role I play here. One of my many duties is to determine potential advantages and potential threats to Her Highness. If you prove yourself useful to Lady Edelgard, then all will be well. If you pose a threat, I shall have to dispose of you. Yes, this is no joke. While I may be a student here, I am her servant first and foremost. Therefore, if an untimely demise is not to your liking, you would do well to demonstrate your utility with all haste. I should warn you that I am far less compromising than Lady Edelgard. Do not be at ease merely because you stand in her good graces for the time being. Ah, such confidence. I'm beginning to see why you caught her eye. My family, House Vestra, has been sworn to House Resvelg for generations. Since the dawn of the Empire, we have worked to protect the Emperor by any means necessary, both in the open and in the shadows. If you incur our wrath, you will see just what I mean. It seems I am discovered. I suppose that means assassination is out of the question. At least for now. Merely keeping an eye on you, for the moment. Nothing to be concerned over. Unusually watchful. Difficult to steal upon in slumber. Perhaps an odorless, tasteless poison. Lady Edelgard certainly took interest in a difficult one this time. I suppose that question does warrant a response, considering it may mean your life. The answer requires me to explain some of the complex internal politics of the Empire. Are you familiar with Volkard von Arundel? He is Lady Edelgard's uncle. You may also know him as Lord Arundel, the Empire's regent. Many years ago, he took Her Majesty and fled to the Kingdom of Fargus. Then after a time, he returned to seize power. Joining forces with Prime Minister Ire and my father, Lord Arundel rendered Emperor Ionius IX politically impotent. Lady Edelgard is Ionius IX's daughter. I cannot begin to fathom the depth of her sadness at his betrayal. I see something of Lord Arundel in you. When I look at you, I feel I can almost see a second self lurking beneath the surface. It is as if you are in constant dialogue with something inside your heart. Something with desires very different from your own. Does that description feel familiar to you at all? Because to me, you seem unpredictable. As though you could turn traitor at any moment. The more I learn about you, the less I like. I had thought you might be of use to Lady Edelgard, but now I am beginning to think you may, through no fault of your own, present too great a risk. I hope you will prove me wrong, Professor. I would hate for this to come to bloodshed. Nice place, isn't it, Professor? Standing here, you can almost feel the goddess's absence. Discounting what dwells within you, of course. Do you think some punishment would rain down from the sky if this monastery were to be destroyed? Of course not. Even if the so-called Immaculate One came back here for revenge, that would only be a result of this war, not the work of a deity. If it is between love and hate, then I would choose the latter. The goddess failed to properly govern this world. That is why it is necessary for Lady Edelgard to become the supreme leader of Fodlan. Those with power must use it wisely. Is that not a teaching of the Church of Seros? It's absurd to preach to others what you cannot practice yourself. That is logical. But I am afraid your logic is informed by your humanity. That is not the case for inhuman creatures with lifespans well beyond our own. We must fight to preserve what makes us human. You are the one closest to the enemy. I wonder if you will be able to maintain your humanity to the end. You make it sound easy. I find myself trusting you. Even with my life. I've already dedicated my life to Lady Edelgard. To throw my lot in with you is inconceivable. But if I had 2 lives to give, I might devote one of them to you. We could be a couplet of birds, flying alongside the sovereign of Black Eagles. You've kept me waiting. Where have you been? The war may be over, but matters of government, diplomacy, and justice remain to be dealt with. There is one problem in particular that must be sorted first, however. You. Rather, you and me. To think I had rehearsed a long preamble. Now when it matters, it's all vanished from memory as suddenly as the morning dew. To the point, then. I love you. In fact, I wish to marry you. I know this must come as a surprise, especially in light of my devotion to Lady Edelgard. I've already spoken to Her Majesty about this. She told me to follow my heart. She seems to prefer that you be with me rather than some dubious individual. So you could say that we have her blessing. Is that a ring? You came here with the same idea. I cannot believe I am saying this. I am truly happy. I am afraid you've outdone me. I've brought no such token. Not much of a suitor, am I? I've never done well with gifts or flattery. Protecting you is easy, but to be a good husband... Of course, such a thing doesn't bother you. I hope I can support you with the same tenacity. Thank you for doing me this honor. I once thought killing you would be a great challenge, but the real difficulty was declaring my love.
Sometimes I wonder if your life could have taken you down a different path. If you had never met me and entered my service, you might have had a more peaceful...
A more tedious path. Inconsequential and spoiled rotten, like so many other nobles? Never. My duty to you is no mere obligation. I chose this. I had thought that would be obvious to you.
I understand you well, better than anyone. But when I recall how you were at the monastery, studying with the others, it makes me wonder what kind of life you might have had without me. That's all.
Such a life may have had its appeal. I thought I'd left my years of carefree innocence behind me. But I cannot deny that I enjoyed the time I spent at the monastery.
I feel the same way.
That enjoyment, however, is only thanks to you. Standing by your side is all that truly matters to me.
I see. Then I won't speak of such things again. If it's really what you want, I'll gladly keep you by my side. The path I must walk is soaked in blood. It's a path that can lead to madness, can snatch away one's future, and can even take one's life. And the pool of blood at my feet is growing larger. Those stains can never be washed clean.
Please leave the violence to me. A leader must be seen as pure, above the fray. Allow me to paint the path that lies before you red with the blood of your enemies. I will do it gladly.
We've come such a long way. After all, I was only 4 years old when we first met.
From your perfect memory, Lady Edelgard, I expect nothing short of the utmost precision. Do go on.
Please don't mock me with such frivolous praise. I can hardly recall that day.
Forgive me. I suppose I must have been 6 at the time. I have no recollection of it. My earliest memory of you is of when you were injured. I recall being scolded most sternly by my father. "You are Lady Edelgard's servant," he said. "You must protect her with your life."
I had no idea. But House Vestra has served House Fresfelg for generations. Given that, I suppose I shouldn't be surprised.
Indeed. After that, I made certain to accompany you wherever you went. That is, until the incident.
Ah, when my uncle, Lord Arundel, defected to the kingdom and took me with him.
The sensation of loss that overcame me on that day defies all description. It was as horrific as if I'd lost all my limbs. I left the city in a mad rush to rescue you. My father sent soldiers to capture me. I fought them off for 3 days, but they did finally manage it. Of course, I was only 10. I never would have reached Ferdiad.
I've never heard that story before. So there are things you've never told me.
It wasn't important.
That's beside the point. I wish to know these things. If there's anything else you're keeping from me, please tell me at once.
Respectfully, I decline.
Why? It's a simple order. I really must know.
Speaking of your orders, there was a task you gave me earlier which I have yet to carry out. Excuse me.
Wait just a moment! I just hope he's not hiding anything too worrisome.
And that concludes my report.
Hubert, I can't shake the feeling that you're keeping more secrets from me.
I have told you before, there are secrets even I am unwilling to share.
I remember. However, I am the Emperor now. If the Minister of the Imperial Household does not obey his orders, I have the right to execute him.
I fear you have misunderstood me, Your Majesty. It is true that I am officially your minister, but such titles are of little significance to me. I serve you purely out of personal devotion. Perhaps there was a time when I served the Imperial line due to my duty as a member of House Vestra. But since you returned from the kingdom, my loyalty has been to you alone.
I see. Then you are unwilling to obey my orders as Emperor?
Correct. If you prefer to treat this formally, then charge me with a crime. I will gladly offer up my neck to the executioner.
You know I would never do such a thing, and that I pay no heed to the title you bear. It is your own presence and capabilities that I value so highly, Hubert. Titles are meaningless next to such things. Our families have no bearing on this matter, nor does the Empire itself.
In that case, Lady Edelgard, I ask you to turn a blind eye to my secrets. They are trifles, beneath your notice. Best I handle them alone. You should focus on the path ahead of you. The scarlet path I have carefully prepared. Whether that path is red with blood is not something you need trouble yourself over.
As Emperor, I'm obliged to accept that answer. However, as your friend, it irritates me to no end. You speak often of painting the path I walk, yet you do so in secret. I am the one you serve, but you refuse to let me in. I trust you, Hubert, and that is precisely why I want to know everything. Your secret hopes and burdens, all of it. If I'm truly the center of your world, then I wish you would trust me as well as I trust you.
Very well. You have me beaten. I will tell you as much as I am able. From the assassins I've eliminated, to the gold I've spent on bribes, to the identity of the one I love.
Wait a moment. Are you saying you have romantic feelings for someone?
Yes. That is the one secret I had particularly hoped to keep from you.
Well, that's utter nonsense. You can't possibly keep something so fascinating from me. Who is it?
It is you, Lady Edelgard. Did you ever really doubt?
Hubert, you never cease to surprise me.
With this idea, I may be able to get the one-up on Edelgard.
This again.
Hubert! I wish you would not sneak up on me like that.
Maybe you would be more perceptive if your mind were less burdened by sedition.
Sedition? Absurd. This is an important project.
Yes, I heard. A new way to prove how superior you are to Lady Edelgard. She is not your rival, Ferdinand. She is above you. A noble like you ought to know his place.
Anything is better than being a noble like you. Every time you open your mouth, it's Lady Edelgard this or Lady Edelgard that. Do you ever think for yourself? You follow her around like a pet. You spend all of your time fretting over her, and yet you never truly express an opinion of your own. Before you reprimand me, take a moment to consider your own failings.
Your nonsense is tiresome, so I hope this will be the last time I have to remind you. Lady Edelgard is your emperor. You are nothing more than her retainer.
Yes, I understand that. But my duty is to guide her, to give frank advice when she is on the wrong course of action. That is what I strive to do, always. Thus my devotion to surpass Edelgard, so that if she needs guidance, I will be prepared to give it. If you think it is tiresome to have a mind of your own, you will never be much of an advisor.
Does the river of filth pouring out of your mouth ever stop flowing? Your obsession with all things superficial is disgusting. It's no use. You're hopeless. I'll take my leave.
I have nothing more to say to you. Get out of here.
Show them this letter. Threaten them. Do what you must. Now go.
Yes, sir. Hubert, that letter. Is that what I think it was?
I suppose there's no denying it.
But Edelgard...
explicitly forbade me to send it. Yes, I know.
I cannot believe it! You disobeyed a direct order? I thought you were her loyal aide.
Unwaveringly. All that I do for her. I seem to recall you expressing a similar sentiment. It is our role to guide her when she is on the wrong course of action. Is that not what you said?
You are not supposed to do it in secret. When you disagree with your leader, you must voice your concerns directly. Otherwise, what is the point?
The point is the same. Lady Edelgard's best interests are served whether she knows it or not. She needs not trouble herself with the mundane details of my actions. Only results matter.
You are sorely misguided. When I believe that Edelgard is making a mistake, I tell her as much. Through discussing the matter, I sometimes find that I was mistaken. To skip that process, to make a decision that is not yours to make.
Perhaps your advice is simply useless then.
Excuse me?
Listen to yourself. If I do as Lady Edelgard requires, then you tell me to be more independent. But if I tread my own path, I am misguided. I suppose the fault is mine for expecting any useful advice to come out of your mouth.
Ugh, I have had enough of your grousing. To think, I started to believe you were a useful aide.
It's strange. I never thought you and I would be able to sit together and drink tea like this.
Drink tea, you say? But that does not smell like tea. The aroma. Would that be coffee by any chance? Imported from Dagda, I believe. I do not care for it myself.
Your knowledge is impressive. Although I should expect nothing less from a noble, I suppose. Lady Edelgard surpasses you in nearly every respect. But I think when it comes to positivity, you may actually exceed her.
Excuse me?
In a way, it is merely a mask for your tactlessness. But even so, your relentless optimism, well, suffice it to say that it is your best quality.
What?
You are constantly striving to grow as a person, to seek new knowledge, to push new limits. When others might get distracted or abandon their path, you never yield. In that aspect, at least, I think you are unmatched.
Hubert, are you all right? Do you have a cold? Or the plague? Am I hearing a deathbed confession?
It was only a compliment. There's no need for such dramatic exaggeration.
Dramatic, you say?
I do my best to analyze others without emotion. Even if I find you to be a contemptible degenerate, I can still evaluate your abilities in an impartial way.
So, because you assess people without emotion, you are totally confident in your appraisals. It seems I was wrong about you.
You actually understand.
Please, do not compliment me again, though. I find it quite unsettling. It is like hearing a snake sing an aria. At least put it in a letter next time.
In the very unlikely event that there is a next time, I promise to put it in writing. Hello, Ferdinand. Wait, that aroma.
Your nose is as sharp as ever, Hubert. Yes, it is a bag of fresh coffee beans.
Why did you buy coffee? You said you don't care for it.
My stance has not changed. Drab, bitter, with that muddy texture. If I have even a sip, my hands start to tremble.
Rather harsh. What are you doing with it then?
Well, you see, but wait a moment. What is that? Is that an imported tea from the East?
It is indeed. Keen eyes.
Flaunting my favorite drink right in front of me. And you do not even drink tea. Fiendish. It is for Edelgard, I assume.
Before I answer that, I would like to know what you are doing with the coffee.
Well,
Is it a gift? Perhaps for someone you fancy?
A gift, yes. For you.
Who is the unlucky... Did you say for me? This coffee is a gift for me. Have I heard you correctly?
Yes, that is what I said. A noble does not go back on his word. Just take it.
I should decline.
Why?
The thought of receiving a gift from you, unbidden and unreciprocated, fills me with revulsion. Therefore, accept this tea as a gift from me.
From me? Are you certain? I would hate to deprive the intended recipient of such a fine tea.
That would be difficult to do, since I bought it with you in mind.
Oh, in that case, thank you. What? You were planning to give this to me all along?
That is what I said.
Really? Only one thing to do. We must take a tea break.
Very well. But tea is not what I will be drinking.
Of course. I will make you some coffee.
Then I will prepare the tea.
Well, this is fascinating. Following this equation...
Linhardt. Here again, I see.
Go away, Hubert. Now is not a good time. Ah, yes. The double line becomes a helix, and its arc... No, that cannot be correct.
Now is exactly the time. Lady Edelgard requests your presence. Come. She is waiting for you.
Politely inform her that my research is vastly more important than whatever it is she has to say.
While your passion may be admirable, it is sadly misdirected. This matter takes priority. Return to your hobby when your duty is done.
Hobby? This research will most certainly prove useful in the future.
The Empire requires you to be useful now. I should think you would want the same. You have an almost unparalleled intellect, a singular focus, and unfettered imagination. In truth, you have talents that many, including myself, will never have the privilege of possessing.
Are you complimenting me, Hubert? That alone deserves to be studied.
Let me finish. I haven't an ounce of respect for the cause you have chosen to waste your talents on, which changes frequently, I might add, with no rhyme, reason, or results. Learn to apply yourself to something constructive. You may still have a bright future.
That sounds suspiciously as if you're not going to leave me alone. I just want to live a life doing things that interest me. Is that so wrong?
That is unacceptable, even for a nobleman. We are in the middle of a war.
War. You have a point, and I understand where you're coming from. But I can't do it. I can't bring myself to work for someone else. Cooperating the way I am now, serving in the military, it's about all the generosity I can muster.
Pathetic. Keep to your books, then. Goodbye, Linhardt. can't believe it. How can I show my face to Lady Edelgard after this?
That's what you get, Hubert. If you rested like me, you wouldn't collapse from exhaustion.
As much as it pains me to say it, you're right. But to be looked after by you of all people, that might be the worst part of this. I don't know how to feel, to be honest. So for now, let's pretend I thanked you.
Oh, come now. Even I wouldn't abandon someone who collapsed.
You would have in a heartbeat if anyone else had been around.
Ah yes, quite accurate, Hubert. Why would I ever bother to be a decent person if there were anyone else I could foist the duty upon? If your situation turned bad, it would have been an absolute hassle. I could never just leave you there.
If that were the sort of man you truly were, we could never be friends.
But if we weren't friends, I probably would have just left you.
Shame you're so reluctant to do any real work. You're actually pretty good at this. Made sure I was comfortable, checked carefully for injuries, even carried me here yourself. If only you'd apply that knowledge of yours so proactively and thoroughly all the time, you'd be a tremendous asset to the Empire.
There you go again. I see no problem with staying just the way I am. But think of it this way. In an anthill, 20% of the ants are asleep at any given time. And it's not because they're lazy. Far from it. When the working ants become tired, they go to sleep and the others wake up. That's me. I'm the ant who rests so I can work later when other people are tired.
Maybe that's true. But even if it is, it's still just a fancy way to say you let others do all the work. Consider me unconvinced.
I'll consider you a bother and leave it at that. You and Edelgard work far too hard. I mean it. Take a break now and then. If you both collapsed, I think it'd be too much effort for me to bother with. Get some rest, Hubert. Not as much as me, of course.
Fine.
I'm not finished with you! I am Caspar! Ah! What's going on, Hubert? You need something?
I watched you training earlier. Pitiful display.
Excuse me? What's that supposed to mean?
You yell before every move.
I know. I do it on purpose. It's how I get fired up. Was that a problem for you? You scared?
Stupid habit. If you value your life, you'll break it.
What are you talking about? It sounds like you might have a problem with me.
As a matter of fact, I do. If it was only your own idiotic life at stake, I wouldn't bother saying anything. But it's not. Your foolishness hurts everyone.
Ooh, you sure do love to hear yourself talk.
Suppose you were to shout on the battlefield as you did in your training today. It is very likely the enemy could anticipate your next move based on your insipid blather. And what if your allies are startled by your outburst and fumble with their weapons as a result? This is not to mention the obvious fact that you would utterly botch any covert operation.
You really think I'm that stupid? I only shout when it's completely necessary. I don't do it all the time.
Whatever habits you develop in training, you will reproduce on the battlefield. Combat is tense and frantic. You will default to your training whether you mean to or not.
Hey, why don't you just shut up about it? I can control myself.
You were rather quiet in the last battle, Caspar. Not a single war cry to be heard. It was almost as if you weren't even there.
I did it just for you, Hubert. Isn't that what you wanted? Weren't you the one who said my shouting would cause problems?
Yes, I was. And at the time, you seemed intent on ignoring my advice.
Well, that was then. Recently, my behavior caused trouble, just like you said it would. I was shouting the other day and some enemies heard. I pretty much gave our position away and left us open to attack. I mean, it turned out fine in the end, but someone could have died if things had played out differently. Anyway, I did some self-reflecting and realized that I probably shouldn't shout so much. A decision that I'm proud to say I came to all on my own.
All on your own, huh? It was a bad decision. Being too quiet on the battlefield is extremely dangerous.
I'm sorry, what? That's the exact opposite of what you said before.
Having seen you fight in silence, I have no choice but to accept the truth that your shouting is vital.
What in the world are you talking about?
We've all grown used to the way you fight. Your battle cries help morale, and your instructions rise above the din of battle. I would go so far as to say that the soldiers under your command would be lost without the guidance of your booming voice.
I really don't get you, Hubert.
You inspire people. The benefits of your shouting outweigh the risks. Something wrong?
Yeah! I'm back! If you want me to shout, then I'm gonna shout! I'm not even gonna think about it! I knew you'd come around!
Don't get too excited. You'll be ambushed again.
Then I guess I'm gonna have to fight some guys while shouting!
That might have been the wrong approach. Ah, well. No cure for stupidity. I suppose I'll just have to rein him in myself.
Being outside is so tiring. Tomorrow's gotta be just an inside day, Bernie. Whoa, why is it so cold all of a sudden? It's as if an unspeakable evil just...
You're late.
No, into the light! Back to the beyond from whence you came!
Are you telling me to die?
Hubert!
In the flesh. I came to ask you something.
Oh no, what did I do? Think, Bernie, think!
There have been sightings of a sinister figure carrying a sharp object, wandering the halls at night. A strange giggle, the glimmer of a needle in the dark, the sound of a door creaking open and closed.
I was embroidering.
I suspected as much. Then you leave me no choice.
What? No, I'm too young to die! I've got so much left to do, please don't kill me!
About what I expected.
It's no good. I can't run anymore.
That was quite a sprint. A shame you lack stamina. Now to my duty.
You're going to execute me, aren't you? Please, let me compose my last will and testament. Or at least a swan song. The creak of a door. Sorrow like a needle point. Bernie's gone away.
Bernadetta, a word of caution. How would you feel if you fell or bumped into someone while carrying around that needle? Please watch where you're going in the future. How did you manage to faint while standing up? Well, I cannot simply leave her here.
Hubert?
Yes?
I wanted to thank you. For the other day, you know, when I fainted. Thank you for carrying me back to my room.
That was nothing. It saved me effort in the long run. Leaving you there would have just caused even more trouble.
I guess that's true. Well, thanks. There, I said it, and now I'm going.
Is this why you've been circling me like a vulture for the last several hours?
Vulture's a bit... well, yes.
Yet you would have fled if I'd approached. It seems you will avoid me at almost any cost.
Well, that's...
You don't need to say it. I know. I'm frightening. I'm told so often.
Please don't laugh like that!
Apologies. I will be mindful not to laugh in your presence from now on.
The grin of death itself! Terrifying!
You think so?
Oh no, now you're angry too!
Hardly. I'm sorry to have frightened you.
No, you're not! It's a trick! You're lulling me into a false sense of security! I can't stand it!
She's a lost cause.
Good morning! The weather is nice today. So, it's, really nice weather we're having, isn't it?
Indeed. Did you want something?
I'm really sorry.
I can't accept your apology until I know what it's for.
Oh, good point. I'm sorry I said you were terrifying.
Is that all? I'm used to that. No apology necessary.
But you've been avoiding me since then, right? You even stopped doing your deathly grin.
I am merely trying not to frighten you. Is there something wrong with that?
It's not working. And yes, there is. You can't quit talking and laughing just to try to make me feel better. That's not really fair. I need to master my own fear.
Is that right?
Yes. Right. Why?
You told me not to forego laughing, so I laughed as hard as I could. Is it helping to conquer your fear?
Yes. I mean, someday it might. Maybe. I'm not ready!
A summons from Bernadetta? How historic.
I've got something to give you.
Do you? What is it?
A token of apology for all the rude stuff I've said. It's only right. I hope this will help you let go of all the grudges you're probably holding against me.
There are no grudges, but very well. I'll accept it.
You will? Great! Here you go.
Some kind of embroidery. A flower. This is certainly lovely, but why give it to me? It seems like something you would send to a female friend or someone you had romantic feelings for.
But it's, lovely, you said, right? That's why. If you wear it, maybe you'll look less, terrifying.
You would like me to wear this?
You hate it, don't you? I knew it. I knew you'd be angry. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Why not? Do I put it here? It really is quite nice. I cannot say that it suits me, but...
No, it does. It looks great on you. Sorry.
Nothing else for it, I suppose. I dislike you laughing at me, but it is preferable at least to you fleeing in terror. Therefore, I will wear this when I'm around you in the future.
Really? You will? I'm so glad. But you're sure? You're really sure?
If you're going to question me about it, perhaps I'll change my mind.
No. I believe you. you're a lot less scary with it on.
That is what's most important. Now I suppose it is safe for me to return to my usual strict methods.
No, I'm not ready!
This again. Completely unreasonable. How will I see to this?
Hubie, what are you doing here?
A routine matter. No cause for concern.
Ah, so it's something to do with 80 then.
And
She really is all you ever think about, isn't she? Look, I know you're doing all this so that she'll like you, but if you go too far, she'll end up pushing you away. Maybe even hate you.
this has nothing to do with swaying Lady Edelgard's sentiments. I am simply her humble servant. I do what is in her best interest. Whether she cares for me or not is irrelevant.
It really doesn't look that way to me. I bet you'd follow any order 80 gave if you thought it would make her like you. Am I right?
Any order? What a thing to suggest. But the answer is no. I will decline any directive that I deem would not be beneficial to her.
Is that right? So, just for example, if 80 commanded you to find yourself a suitable wife, would you do it?
If it would benefit her in some way for me to marry, then yes, I would marry.
It's easy to say that now with no bridal party in sight. But if it was the day of the wedding? Nah, I don't believe that.
I don't care what you believe. My only wish is to see Lady Edelgard fulfill her ambitions. All other matters pale in comparison.
Hubie, pale in comparison? You've seen too many operas. I don't think you understand how the world works. At all.
And I don't care what you think either. I would make any sacrifice to support Lady Edelgard. It's a shame you've never experienced such devotion.
You're right. I don't have anyone like that right now. But maybe someday I will.
Then maybe someday you'll understand. Until then, we will never see eye to eye. Now, if you will excuse me, I have much to do.
Hubie, I don't get you. Although I do find your point of view just fascinating. Hey there, Hubie. I've been thinking about our conversation the other day, and I've just got to know, do you really love 80?
If it's one or the other, I suppose it would be closer to love than to hate. Why?
I knew it! That's why you work so hard for 80. Oh, Hubie, I finally get you. You're just another servant suffering from unrequited love for their mistress.
You completely misunderstand. Unrequited love. Do I really look like the kind of drooling simpleton to have that kind of motivation?
I'd like to say yes, but I know you just argue. Fine, Hubie, tell me your situation.
My situation is simple. I am walking a path.
Oh, do go on.
Everyone has a path in life. Lady Edelgard has shown me mine. It is just beside her own. So we walk together side by side. We stride ever forward, yielding to nothing and to no one.
So, you're sharing the same dream?
Bluntly, yes. But it's more than just a shared dream. I have many feelings toward Lady Edelgard. Gratitude, respect, awe, empathy, trust, hope.
Okay. I was teasing you, but I gotta say I'm just a little bit jealous of you and 80. That you're able to embrace these feelings and stride forward along the same path. You're lucky, Hubie. I don't know if I'll ever get the chance to experience anything so utterly operatic.
Why not?
Because I figure the best quality in a partner would be that they make me happy. And loving another is really about wanting to be loved. I'm pretty sure that's different from how things are with you and 80. Hubie, I've been thinking.
What's this all about now?
It's about what you said before, about your path.
You mean the path that Lady Edelgard and I walk?
I guess I don't really understand that kind of thing since I've always been focused on my own goals. But you, 80, Professor, all of you are fighting for an ideal. That's big. It touches everyone. Then there's me, with my hands full thinking of just myself.
One person seems enough to me.
Maybe you're right.
Do you have something more to say, Dorothea? It is unlike you to seem so uncertain.
I guess so. I'm sorry, Hubie. It's just, I've been thinking a lot lately about whether 80 might command you to marry me.
What?
Perhaps 80 might command you.
No need to repeat it. I heard you quite clearly.
Like I said, my hands are full thinking of just one person. But if you and I were devoted to one another, maybe we could strive for the future you believe in. Maybe I'd finally understand your path and be able to think about more than just myself.
Seems it's my turn to not understand. Did you just propose marriage as a way to get to know me? How exactly would such an arrangement benefit me?
Oh, it'll benefit you.
Go on.
Well, this path you're walking with 80 will have one more loyal follower. Isn't that enough?
I suppose it may well be. Your contribution to our cause has been noteworthy. I've no complaints about your battle prowess either. And if you are able to walk the path as I do, that would be something very special.
So, will you consider it? This is all because of you, you know. You made me wonder what it's like to be wholly devoted to another person.
All right. I'll consider it. Petra. Industrious as ever, I see.
Hello, Hubert. Yes, I am trying to be industrious. I must be working hard to improve my position. Right now, it is not a good one.
Even accounting for that, your efforts are impressive. I wish a little of you would rub off on certain people here. One troublesome slouch in particular.
Rub? I will not be rubbing on anyone.
Not literally. I never would have imagined you would adjust so well to life in Fodlan. When I first met you, you couldn't understand a single word of the language. You had the look of a cornered animal. So much so I thought you'd grown up in the wild.
I had more youth then, and the experience was terrifying. My grandfather ordered me to go to Fodlan with suddenness. I was stolen to a strange land filled with strange people. The treatment I was receiving was like I was a strange beast.
It is unfortunate, but while you were called our guest, you were actually a hostage. You were meant to be insurance that Brigid would not restore its alliance with Dagda and attack us. The Empire required leverage, and after all, you are the Princess of Brigid.
It gave me sadness to leave my home, but I am not unhappy that I came to the Empire. I have learned much understanding from the outside world. My experience has made me become who I am. And meeting you and Lady Edelgard has had great value for me.
I admire your spirit in the face of adversity. You set a strong example to follow. After all, we face great adversity even now. Looking out toward Bridget, are you?
Yes. There are some times I cannot stop my thoughts from going home. It will be much time before I return. Bridget feels far away.
It is quite a long way. To say nothing of the sea that lies between here and there. Being unable to return must further add to the distance in your mind.
It is as you say. When I return to Bridget, I will be the new queen. I am wishing to show my strength during this war, and to help relations with the Empire.
I believe you will be successful. You may not be Lady Edelgard's equal, but you are resourceful enough to make an excellent queen. And unlike Lady Edelgard, you will not be forced to harden your heart.
Not Edelgard's equal? Is that what you are saying?
Understand that I mean no disrespect by this. But it is a fact that you are far beneath her. Make no mistake about what would happen if you were to raise your banner in revolt against her. She would crush you mercilessly.
That is not a difference of equality. It is a difference of power.
Even if our homelands were on equal footing, Lady Edelgard would still prevail.
I can see with clarity the difference between me and Lady Edelgard. But that has no matter. I would never lose.
How amusing. For your sake, you had better hope you are right.
Hubert, I have a request to give you, if I may be doing that.
Hello, Petra. How unusually formal.
You are always comparing me against Edelgard. I have been observing you, and you are not often making comparisons like that. So why are you always comparing me? I do not enjoy being compared.
An astute observation. I should point out that such a comparison only reflects well on you. I am perhaps doing so because you are both royalty.
That is not making sense to me. In battle, you and I are the same. Neither of us has a higher rank than general. Edelgard is leading the entire army. But you and I are both leading a part of the army. That should be making us... what is it? Comrades in arms.
Comrades in arms, you say?
When you are looking at me, you are thinking of me compared to Edelgard. But I want you to be looking at me as only myself. Do you have understanding? I do not want you seeing me as foreign royalty, but as your comrade in arms, who is working with you at your side.
I understand you now. It seems I've done you a great disservice, Petra. Your friendship is important to me. I am sorry that I failed to make that clear. By comparing you to Lady Edelgard, I have treated you merely as one chasing after her shadow. I have done so even while believing that the Empire and Bridget would never go to war again.
Do you really think you can stop comparing? I am knowing well that Edelgard takes a big place inside your heart.
I do not fully understand it. But when I look at you, I simply cannot help but think of Her Majesty. Your past, full of hardship, your unwavering determination, your uncommon excellence. As such, I cannot promise never to compare you. But I will try my best to do so less often.
For now, that will be okay. But I will not be giving up on this. And I want you knowing that one day, when you are comparing, you will be finding I have won the comparison.
What an amusing thing to say. Lady Edelgard's face would contort most bitterly were she to hear it.
Be marking my words, Hubert. One day, between the two of us, you will be choosing me.
Hubert, my boy, it's rather rare for the two of us to see one another with no one else around, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it is.
I was good friends with your father, you know. Perhaps this is fate, eh? Of course, when I left the Empire, I broke off my friendship with him. And, well, everyone else.
You were right to sever ties with such a miserable piece of filth.
Sharp words, Hubert. Contemptible though your father may be, he is still your father.
Don't overcomplicate it. I will not forgive him. Ever. Contemptible is just the right word for the wretch. Do you truly know what kind of man my father was?
I assume you're talking about the insurrection of the Seven. At the time, I was already at Garrick Mach. I know nothing more than hearsay. That said, I found it hard to believe that Lord Vestra would challenge the Emperor like that.
Yet that's exactly what he did. Since the dawn of the Adrestian Empire, House Vestra has served House Hresvelg as the Emperor's right hand. My father spat on a legacy of loyalty and devotion that had lasted 1100 years. He conspired with the ministers to usurp power from the Emperor and Lady Edelgard.
In your father's defense, the Emperor was attempting to take power from the Seven Houses. The Emperor's reform was an attempt to concentrate power in the hands of the throne. The nobles put a stop to that. Emperor Ionius lost the ensuing power struggle.
Now it is the nobles' turn to suffer defeat. Her Majesty will crush all who oppose her.
You hope she can cease this never-ending conflict? That's quite a goal, Hubert.
I must thank you for lending your expertise to the aid of Her Majesty, Hanneman.
Your gratitude is wasted on me, Hubert. I choose this situation entirely because it benefits me. I could carry out my research anywhere, of course, but that is, as they say, beside the point.
Is that so?
Hubert, there's something I want to tell you. Will you hear me out?
Depends what it is.
It concerns your father.
Then no, absolutely not.
Oh, by all means, cover your ears and run out of the room. I'll still speak the words, for I feel that I must. Your father, the Marquis of Vestra, well, rather the former Marquis of Vestra, was a selfless man. He was practical and never sought power for the sake of power. In that respect, you and he are rather alike. Do you think such a man would so easily betray his emperor, even if led astray by the Prime Minister?
Clearly, yes. That's exactly what he did. He played a large part in the assault on the palace, personally spearheaded the Emperor's capture. The thought of those treacherous arms reaching out for Her Majesty is truly upsetting.
Agreed. Facts are facts. The palace walls are stuffed with countless truths, all of them concealed by the stones and mortar of fact. I hoped you would have the capacity to see the unfettered truth, but I fear that where your father is concerned, your eyes may see only what you wish them to see.
I'll take that under advisement.
Feel free to ignore me. I know full well I have my own blind spots. It's just, I believe your father had something he was trying to protect. Bearing a stain on his honor, being purged by his own son, all in the name of protection. I speak from knowledge, as someone who failed to protect something I held dear.
Let's say you're right. Suppose he did it to protect something he cared about. It doesn't matter. Doesn't change his actions or my judgment of them. My father was a traitor to House Hresvelg, and he deserved what he got. That was me protecting something I care about.
Ah, I can see the right of that. You have chosen your own path, Hubert. Continue protecting what you wish to protect, and I shall support you from the bottom of my heart.
What is it, Hubert?
Nothing in particular. Just taking a moment to admire your skill with a bow. I'm willing to bet you could put an arrow through the neck of an enemy general from quite a distance. In fact, to any leader's bodyguard, I would go so far as to say you pose the most dangerous kind of threat.
Don't worry your fragile little self. Your lady princess is safe. I wouldn't shoot my employer.
I would certainly hope not. But there are some mercenaries to whom a contract means little. And you would do well to remember that Lady Edelgard is no mere princess. You should take care to learn the proper form of address for your employer.
I said lady. I already told you, I'm not going to break the princess's contract.
What did I just say?
Proper address. Right. Next time.
My patience has limits, you know. For the moment, you may stand in Lady Edelgard's good graces. But if you become a problem, I will not hesitate to eliminate you.
You're unstable, Hubert. Be careful who you threaten. I don't take kindly to those who get in the way of my contracts.
Is that a threat?
Just some advice.
That's the last of them. Another threat to Her Majesty? Who's there?
It's me. You owe me for that one.
Shamir, what are you doing here?
Same thing you are, but I'm after a particular target. The dark side of the Knights of Saros is proving troublesome. I should have known, having been one.
I was negligent. I had thought we'd sufficiently thin the numbers of these scum. Seems I was mistaken. In any case, you have my thanks.
Save it. Just doing my job.
Even so, killing your former allies. Do you feel no remorse whatsoever?
You wouldn't, so I ask.
You are not me. Answer the question.
What's it matter? I owed a debt to Rhea. I served in the Knights of Saros to repay her. I repaid that debt, now I'm here. I'm sure it was considered dishonorable of me to leave, but that's none of my concern. I have no connection to the Saros faith, nor to the ways of Fodlan.
That's right. You're from Dagda. Well, consider me glad you're on the right side. At least for the time being.
You worry too much. Watch out, or it'll be the death of you.
All finished. Time to go. You really must stop sneaking up on me, Shamir.
And what if I don't? I can take you.
Maybe. Either way, it's a waste to fight an ally.
We're allies now? I guess I should be more careful with you. Are you sure it was right to kill them? I believe your mistress told you to let them go.
That is exactly what I will say I did. But leaving them alive would have been a mistake. I did what had to be done.
Is that so? Maybe you're not just some sycophant. It takes guts to disobey a direct order.
Lady Edelgard's time is rightfully occupied with a great deal of concern and contemplation. Her affairs are of far greater consequence than a trifle like this. Much rests on the decisions she makes. But little details of this kind happen to be my area of expertise, so I simply handle them. Better that than to burden her with needless debate.
Logical through and through, aren't you?
That is how I do things.
I like people who are thorough.
You seem quite thorough in your methods as well.
As a rule, I am. Regarding decisions, I planned on leaving Fodlan after completing my contract. But now I'm starting to think I might stay here.
Stay here. I'm forced to wonder what your intentions might be.
I have no ulterior motives. I've just grown a little fond of you.
Excuse me? You've what?
For someone so intelligent, you're very dense. It's not just about you, though. I've learned to like Lady Edelgard and most everyone else here as well. I wouldn't mind staying on to work as your specialist.
It's a fine offer. But perhaps we should wait until after the war to discuss it thoroughly.
Fair. But you owe me, remember?
Not much I can say to that, is there?